Einherjer, Blot. Very special album today. All the albums in this series are, of course, very special. But it will be a little bit unusual today, like all the rest of the episodes as well. This time I have it on vinyl. The last episode I didn't own the album on vinyl. It took me a while to get this one on vinyl. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. Why I chose to include this Norwegian gem is because, much like I told in the other episodes, we had this car ride, me and Daniel, where we went back and forth to work. It was my car, it was my music. I listened to this a lot during that time and I introduced it. I said that it was probably one of 5 best albums I knew at the time. So it really found its way to the hands of the rest of the band, of course, and it's been with us even since those early days. And what's unique about it is, compared to the other albums I've presented so far that I've sort of hinted at being inspirational, there was a certain element of maybe borrowing a little bit too much from the early songwriters in Sterbhaus. But this album, even though it's been hugely inspirational, I can't really say that we ever wrote anything like it. It's not like we listened to this album and said, man, we want to sound like Einherjer. It's not like we said we didn't want to sound like Einherjer either, but it was just not logical. It was not logical for us. So what we did was we listened to the album and we loved it. And I don't know if I can describe this in any other way than to actually sing it. And that would be... That's one of the songs on this album. And to make something that ballsy and cocky and get away with it so excellently demands a fair share of admiration from everyone. So I truly recommend, if you haven't heard this one, I mean, Einherjer, they are, of course, still active. They weren't active after having released this album because they split up. They basically said that, okay, we made the best album we probably ever will, and we fulfilled our aspirations, our dreams, and how we wanted an album to sound like, and they disappeared. And they even disappeared a little earlier than that. I would say they disappeared mid-tour for this album, and I know that because I wanted to go to their Stockholm show. Now, that was apparently an impossibility because they played a venue called Café 44, Coffee 44, for those who don't know Swedish or logic. Wow, that's actually pretty hard to do. Anyway, I got a friend to tag along. We went there. This was quite some time ago. And the place was completely dark, abandoned. And we thought we were at the wrong address. We sort of verified everything and we appeared to be at the right address. So we finally got a hold of the booker or the guy who had the venue. And he answered and he was like, yeah, they just didn't show up. And that was all we heard about that. So we had to go home empty-handed. So I can talk a little bit about this specific copy. It's released on a label, as you can see, that's Night of the Vinyl Dead. I think it's an Italian label. They release a lot of reissues and stuff, really interesting stuff, but they sound terrible. They sound bloody awful. And I didn't buy this copy until a few weeks back. And the reason is because I bought a lot of stuff from Night of the Vinyl Dead and it sounded horrible. But then I stumbled upon an album, yet another album I really wanted, released on this label. That was Lee Fay and The Seventh Seal. Now, I listened to it in the store and it sounded okay. So, having bought that, verified when I got home that it sounded great, I, of course, bought this one. And I'm happy to say that even though a lot of stuff in their back catalog, Night of the Vinyl Dead sounds terrible, this sounded great as well. So it just goes to show that maybe be a little bit careful about trusting reissues sometimes. Now, I'm going to tell you another story. As you may know, or if you don't know, then you get to know it right now, Sterbhaus is not really active. That's why it's only me in all these videos. I'm wrapping things up and I'm trying to do it entertaining. I'm trying to prolong the life of our absolutely killer album Next Akin to Chaos, because I don't want to release it and just move along and that album gets forgotten within 1 or 2 weeks. So that's kind of why we're doing this stuff. What's going to happen now is that, and that's already kind of started, I started actually playing a lot of guitar. Now, you know, I'm a vocalist and a bass player, but I do write a lot of riffs and I write a lot of stuff. And since there's no band anymore, I figured I'd be playing guitar for the stuff I'm doing for the rest of the year and for the future until I'm old and gray, older or grayer. What I do and what I've done since I was a teenager was always play guitar to albums. I went to classes and stuff like that. It didn't really give me much, but what actually provided the most learning, basically, was to play to other albums. Now I used to play to this one when I was a teenager, when this album came out, and that helped me immensely. And I played bass to that one, of course. But when I'm playing guitar today, I'm actually playing to this as well, because the riffs are fairly simple. You can improvise to it. So that's my recommendation, to find these kind of albums that you love and practice to them. Doesn't mean you have to play covers. That's not it. It's basically just stuff that you love, and playing that kind of stuff that you love makes it even more fun. It's tedious as hell to just sit and practice scales. Scales are boring to listen to anyway, but you kind of have to play to something, and I am actually playing to this one. So I think that was the episode today. That was Night of the Vinyl Dead. I was about to say Night of the Vinyl Dead, but it's Tales of the Vinyls. And yeah, that's it. Einherjer, Blot. Check it out.
With the stage of the dark Lord rise.